Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I'm pinning a comment and then we're going to get started. What I want to talk about today is I want to detail or map out for you the process to pivot from micro to macro social work. It was a question that I received earlier this week, and I said that I was going to respond before. I said a few days ago, but life started to life, and I was like, I wanted to respond to this before the week ended. And so I wrote out all of my notes. Hey y'all, how you come as you come in? Tell me where you're logging in from, what city, what state, what country. Look at y'all coming in the room to talk about your career on a Friday evening. I love that. That makes my heart smile. But today I wanted to really, and I keep looking at my notes. So if I look away, I'm looking at my notes. I tighten them out instead of writing them out today. But I really want to detail for you all the process of going, hey Brenda, how you doing? I hope your week was good. I want to detail for you the process of going from micro level work to macro level work. It was a question I received this week when I did like an open Q&A in my Instagram stories, and I told the person I would respond. And so I'm here to respond and provide the steps, right? But let me be clear, they are not steps, right? Getting a macro job is really a process, right? That's what I teach my coaching clients. So I'm going to detail for you tonight the different phases of what you need to strategically be doing to move from micro level work to macro level work, right? Okay, so let's jump into it, right? Oh, let me introduce myself. People find me different ways every day. Hey, my name is Marthea Pitts. I'm known on the social work streets as the MSW coach, and I have helped over 180 plus social workers make the pivot from micro level work to macro level work. Some of those people are in the chat right now, and they are like, they just recently celebrated their macro job anniversary. They're loving their job. They're making the most money that they've ever made. They are having the most impact they've ever had in their social work career. So I help people do that. I myself, I've had well over four. I think I've had 5 macro jobs. I always say between 4 or 5. Google search me. I'm on LinkedIn. You can see all of my macro jobs there. And now I teach other social workers how to do that. So let's jump into the phases of what you need to do to go from micro level work to macro level work, because it's not a straightforward process. The biggest issue that I see social workers make is in their attempt to do this by themselves, they go about trying to get a macro job using the same strategies and techniques they use to get their micro job, their case management job. And for those who are new to me, I classify everything as case management. So you can be a clinical social worker, you can be a non-clinical social worker, you can be a school social worker. I'm still classifying all of us as case managers, but I'm still talking about the same thing, direct practice work. Right? So the first phase to pivot into macro level work that you have to go through, and this is what I do with my coaching clients on a more intensive level and through a very guided process, is you got to get career clarity. Right? I always say that career clarity is the not so sexy part that people don't really want to do. A large part of it is because you have been programmed, trained, or even taught yourself over the years that how you approach getting jobs is by going to a job board and just picking the first job that is available, applying. If the people hire you, then you build your whole life around the thing. What I teach my coaching clients is the reverse of that. We start by creating the vision that we have for our career. What are our desired outcomes? What are our needs? What are our wants? What are our non-negotiables that we need inside of our career, inside of our job? And then we build that vision out to get very clear around what we want so we can move into a more aligned space in our career, because your job impacts the rest of your life. So if you don't take the necessary time to get crystal clear about what it is that you want your career to look like, it will negatively impact the rest of your life. Because if you don't make enough money, you're going to, if you're overworked, if you're burnt out, if you're feeling undervalued, you will come home and yell at the kids, kick the cat, yell at the dog, yell at your partner, slam doors, all of the things. So we spend a lot of time around getting clear around what do you want your career life to look like. So I'm going to break down what specific things you have to identify in this career clarity piece, right? So the first thing is that you got to gain a clear understanding of how you want your day-to-day work to look. Over the last 5 years, I have had the opportunity to talk with hundreds, if not thousands, of social workers. And what I have learned, what the running theme in all of those conversations were prior to them choosing to work with me or not, is that many of them, including this may be you, are in jobs that don't align with what your innate interests are. So a large number of social workers are creatives at heart. You all love artistic expression. You love to paint. You love to draw. Many of you love nature. You love all of the things, right? However, you're working in a job where you sit in a cubicle all day and you are within the parameters of four walls and you're pushing papers all day or you're talking to people. When you are in positions like that that don't match your intrinsic needs, like what you naturally enjoy, that is how you quickly like work your way to burnout. You quickly work your way to not feeling fulfilled on a deeper level. I'm not saying that we should be waking up every day excited to go to work. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, we do have to make a living for ourselves, and for the many of us, we do that through employment. And so if you have to work, your job should be, your key priority should be making certain that you can make it as enjoyable as possible for you. So you're not riding to work every day in tears. You're not dreading the next day to come because you know work is going to be there, right? You're excited about the day that you're currently in and not trying to race to the weekend. Okay. So the first thing is that you got to gain a clear understanding of how you want your day-to-day work to look like. Are you a person that loves to be in the office? Do you love to be out and about? Do you need to be in a situation where you're able to talk with people? Do you prefer not to talk to people? All of these types of things. Maybe you enjoy writing. Maybe you really enjoy reading and researching. Whatever it is, you have to gain clarity on what do you want your day-to-day tasks and duties to be comprised of, right? The other thing that you need to do in that career clarity phase is you need to identify the population or issue you want your work to center on, right? Many social workers, they will not admit it out loud. Some do. They're bold enough to say it. They are working with populations that they're not passionate about. And again, you don't need passion. However, you shouldn't be working with a population that you really don't feel as much, right? And I always tell the story how when I was working through my MSW degree program, someone said, I won't name who, and they were like, social workers should work with every population. And I disagreed with it then, and I disagree with it now, several years into my social work career. If you don't really are not really feeling a population, you shouldn't be working with them because you're causing them more harm than good. So one of the things, because a lot of social workers are not clear about what populations or issues they're more passionate about than others. So the thing that I always teach my coaching clients, and it's a part of the career clarity process, is you need to sit down and be brutally honest with yourself about what populations you want to work with over what ones you don't want to work with. And then also included in that, what specific issue are you interested in working on regarding that population, right? The biggest issue that I see for social workers to really understand at first when they first encounter me is that macro level work does not require you to be the Jack or Jill of all things like it is in case management. In case management, you got to do the transportation. You got to give out the gas cards, the bus pass. You got to give the therapeutic services. You got to do the case plans. You got to train the staff and the volunteers. And macro level work, you are hired to be an expert. You're hired to specialize in one specific aspect of a larger problem that the organization is working to fix. So in order to do that, in order to start marketing yourself and really appeal to macro employers, you have to brand yourself as an expert on one thing, right? And this is hard for many case managers to like free themselves from, right? Free themselves from the overworking, the organizations that overwork you. They are really unwilling to narrow it down to one thing, and that's because you have become accustomed to being overworked. But I'm here to tell you that organizations with bigger budgets, organizations with large teams, they don't work you in the way that a micro job does. They hire you to do one thing, and you are expected to be the expert on that one thing, right? So in order to appeal to those employers in your clarity phase, you got to get clear on what issue, what population, and what aspect of the problem do you want to work on. For example, I was talking to a social worker earlier, and she was like, her issue, I had to ask her because she didn't readily name it. I said, what aspect of the healthcare, mental health access are you interested in? And I just started naming some examples. Is it insurance? Is it access for justice impacted individuals? Like, you have to be clear and specific, right? You can't just say healthcare, mental health, education. You got to get clear and specific. Okay. The other part of career clarity entails that you determine like how to blend in things that you are passionate about. And this kind of goes back to the day-to-day work, right? And I'll say it this way. For my people who are creative, the social workers that are creative, you love to play instruments, you love to design, you love to bake, you love to cook, whatever your thing is, you should find creative ways to maybe align yourself with with an issue or organization that maybe infuses the arts in their large scale national or international work. Why? Because you will enjoy being a part of that team doing that work, right? When I say infuse the things that you love, I'm not saying run off and become an artist, even though you should, right? I'm all about right livelihood. You should do the thing that you enjoy to make money and like to live. However, if you can't do that, right, you should at least be working on strategically infusing elements of what you like. So I have an example. One of my coaching clients, she's really passionate about like playing a cultural instrument. I helped her land a macro job where she's now doing research, where they are doing research centered around her population, which is immigrants, but they specifically are using the arts to collect and analyze the immigrant stories, right? And to analyze them to help immigrants better integrate into U.S. society, right? That's an out-of-the-box way to blend her love for cultural instruments and arts, right? She got a job that is using that as like the focal point of the research, and she wanted to do research. So you have to find ways to build in enjoyment and fulfillment into your career when you are designing it, when you're going through the clarity phase. And then the other thing that you should know is that this phase is critical, right? Sometimes people like to rush through it because you have become accustomed to quickly getting jobs, right? You apply, you go to the interview maybe a few weeks later, then you on board within that same 30-day period. However, when you are wanting to move into a more intentional space in your career, you are going to have to invest some time, some energy. You may even have to invest some like capacity, right? Some money, some resources. And I say that to say, like, I want you to understand that you're going to have to invest some time to get clear on this clarity piece. You're going to have to do it. It may feel different for you, but if you do it, it really will set you up for future like wins across the board. This is how my coaching clients, they have gone on to land multiple macro jobs since coming through my career coaching program. And it's because the clarity piece of the work that we did was so foundational for them that they can rapidly move through their career. They can quickly change. They're not getting stuck in jobs. If they realize, okay, this aspect of the day-to-day work, I don't really enjoy that. I think I want to try this. They know how to navigate and make that move without defaulting to, I'm going to go back to school, get another degree, get some certifications, whatever the default is for people naturally. And so the second phase, let's jump into that, is once you've gotten career clarity, the second phase is that you want to start identifying organizations that align with the vision, like that, whose vision and mission align with what you identified you wanted to do in phase one regarding career clarity. So if you said that you want to be working towards a certain issue regarding youth and young adults, you need to go out and find organizations that do explicit work regarding that population and that issue and that specific aspect of the issue, right? And so identifying organizations whose mission, vision, and overall work align with what you clarified in phase one is also important, because if you end up getting with an organization whose mission is not aligned with what your professional mission is, that's the quickest way to end up in a situation where you hate your job, right? So a lot of social workers in case management find themselves in case management with organizations where they don't agree with the way they do the work. They don't agree with the way that they serve the clients, or like the outcomes that they measure, whatever the thing is. And it's because you did not take the time to really do your due diligence. Well, get clear about what you needed, but then do your due diligence on the organization to determine, like, are these people that I really can stand behind? Right. So identifying organizations is important. You want to make certain that their mission and vision really resonates with what you want to do. The third phase of the process is that you need to start really finding job opportunities within those respective organization types and industries, right? So if you say you want to be with an organization, listen, I'm making this up. Maybe you're like, I want to be with a philanthropic organization that gives funding, and this is actual a thing that one of my coaching clients landed a job on. Maybe you're like, I want to get a job with a national philanthropic organization that gives funding to local organizations that do work around youth development, specifically through sports enrichment, right? So then is your job, because you did in phase two, you went and found those organizations. Now that you found those organizations, phase three is you need to start looking at what job opportunities do they have that align with what you said you wanted to do in your day-to-day work, right? And so this phase is important too, because you don't want to abandon what you have drafted out for yourself during the career clarity phase, right? This is what I see a lot of social workers have done, is they've settled based on what was available, right? Instead of holding true to themselves and saying, this is what I want to do in my career, and I'm going to keep going until I find it. Right? So you want to go to those organizations and you want to look at their job boards to get a good understanding. Do they, and I'm just making this up, do they have a role where someone can just write all day, or maybe create like scholarly writing pieces? Or do they have an opportunity where I can go out and establish relationships with community partners on a national level? Like, are those opportunities in existence? Right. So you have to know this. This is also what you call, the technical term would be career exploration, right? You're going out into the labor market to actually identify what job opportunities are available. And again, this is very different than what many social workers have been told. Many of you have been told you go out and look for jobs by asking the question, what can I do with my degree? And that's not the question you want to ask. What you want to do is you want to say, what jobs exist that align with what I said I wanted to do? So you really want to focus on the roles. How are they doing the work in these organization types? Is there a possibility for me to get a job that aligns with what I said I wanted to do in phase one? Okay. So phase four is where you really need to be learning and acclimating yourself to that new industry, right? Because a large percent, I won't give a percentage, but a large percent of social workers that land macro jobs as a result of working with me, they are entering into completely unrelated industries, organization types, meaning they are entering into jobs where they are the only social worker on staff, right? So I'm not talking about social work admin jobs. I'm talking about true macro jobs. If you're not clear on what a true macro job is, I encourage you to click the link in my bio and visit my YouTube channel. I have a whole video that I made to break down the difference between social work administration and macro social work roles to teach you how to identify what macro social work jobs truly are. A lot of people are walking around with incorrect definitions of macro social work because they were given bad information. So I created a whole video to explain what it is. So in phase 4, you really need to get clear around what experience do you have, be it in your social work career or your career before becoming a social worker, because many of you are what we classify in workforce development as career changers. You need to get a good understanding out of all of the years you've been working, right? And this can be paid experience, unpaid experience. Oh, darn, I just came by to stop and tell you you just got your master's? Okay, congratulations. I love that. Look at you graduates. I love it. Congratulations. I hope you're celebrating. Okay, look at you. Welcome to the field. And so you want to get a good understanding of how does this new industry, this new organization, you're welcome, celebrate. Make certain you celebrate your win. Make certain you celebrate your win and keep me posted. So you want to make certain that you have a good understanding of how does this new organization talk, right? But not just how they talk. How do they, what type of experience do I have would be a benefit to them? And then you need to go in and rewrite your resume to appeal to them, right? A lot of social workers go into this phase of pivoting to macro work, thinking that getting a macro job is just like getting a micro job. You cannot go into your resume writing piece using the same language, right? It's a long-standing running joke if you've been around my page for at least a couple of years that I'm always saying, if you have biopsychosocial exam on your resume, take it off immediately. Macro employers don't understand that because they're not conducting biopsychosocial exams. Practitioners are. Macro employers, macro professionals, they are the creators. On the micro level, you are the doer. So yeah, you talk about conducting a biopsychosocial exam, but on a macro level, if you were applying to a job for an employer that wanted something like that, you will talk about your development or design or your evaluation of a biopsychosocial exam, not conducting one. Right? And you would detail that process. So you want to make certain that you clearly understand what experience you have would be valuable to this new employer, and you tailor your experience on your resume. Let me see. So, okay, you're looking for a job. Okay, keep looking, keep hitting apply. They may not be calling back for interviews right now. It's the holidays, but once they come back, they will make calls, right? A lot of my coaching clients last year got jobs because they were still applying during this time. When everybody took their foot off the gas, they were still applying. So keep hitting apply. Oh, hey, finally caught you on live. I'm glad you're here. And Don, you said I haven't celebrated yet. I'll celebrate with a trip later in life. Not later in life, my gosh. Not later in life. How about in the next 6 months? It'll happen for you. Just stay optimistic, okay? Phase 5, right? So phase 5 of this process is that you need to also be simultaneously preparing yourself for macro job interviews. Macro job interviews are very different from micro job interviews. If you go into your macro interview with the same approach that you did in your case management job, it's not going to work, right? Macro interviews is less about, so tell me about a time when, and it's more about tell me about how to fix such and such problem based on your knowledge or experience with XYZ thing, right? And it's really from a standpoint, again, of being a subject matter expert, right? So it's a lot of hypothetical situations that you should be able to answer based on like your knowledge of the subject that you are claiming to be an expert of, right? And I'm also going to talk about like how you build this knowledge strategically while you're going through these phases. You're welcome. LOL, I'm only 24. I celebrate my 25th birthday. I love that. Okay. Very informative. Thank you. You're welcome. So, the sixth phase, right, is what I call the knowledge acquisition phase. This is what you should be simultaneously doing while you're going through all of the other 5 stages. And this is where you're building your subject matter expertise, right? And before you default and start thinking, oh, I got to go back to school and get another degree, get a certification, get a specific license, you don't. How I teach my clients to go through this knowledge acquisition phase is through like a lean method, to use the resources, the tools that they already have available to them. And so what this looks like is really building your knowledge around the thing that you say you want to do work on. So again, going back to that earlier example, if you said, I want to do work around access for healthcare for justice impacted individuals, you should be going out and really delving deep into all of the national level work that's being done around that population and that issue. This is how you go through the knowledge acquisition phase. And I have it mapped out in a very streamlined process. This is how my coaching clients get jobs, because as I'm teaching them the fundamentals of resume writing, interviewing, all of the things, I'm also teaching them how to become a subject matter expert in that 3-month span through accessible resources and things like that, and really teaching them what aspect of the knowledge they need to be mastering rather than like spending their time going down rabbit holes that don't really matter. So building your subject matter expertise, that's ongoing. You don't do it just to get a job. You do it to get the job, keep the job, and advance in your career, right? So it's an ongoing thing. So I teach my coaching clients that. I actually left off a phase. Phase 7 is career planning. I left it off of my notes. I just realized that phase 7 is career planning. You will have to also be strategically and proactively creating a career plan for yourself. What I see is that a lot of social workers are just wandering out in the wild with no plan. This is how they end up in jobs for 5-10 years, even though they don't like it, or even though they realized years ago that it wasn't aligned with their bigger vision for their social work career, right? And it's because they did not have a plan in place. They did not have a plan that says, I will be in this job for 2 years to get this explicit experience, because then it will help me to get this job that I want next. And then that job in 3 to 4 years will help me to get this job that I want next. And I always say that my coaching clients now are on like their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th macro job. I've been doing this for several years now before I even got online. And it's because of the career plan I helped them create. And I taught them to create inside of my coaching program. So the second phase is career planning. You have to do that. That is ongoing. I'm not saying that you have to be a super meticulous person and map out the dates and times, but you should at least have sketched out what your moves will be to keep you on track. This year I'm going to do this. Next, in 3 years, I'm going to do this. When my child graduates middle school, I'm going to need to go get a job that pays me a little bit more money, because I need to start getting ready to pay for college tuition, right? And I'm saying that, but that was the real part of my career plan. It was in middle school, I wanted a job that gave me flexibility. Actually, I wasn't working like a year. I took a sabbatical a year. My daughter was in middle school. But a part of it was I need a job that's flexible, because my daughter went to private school and I got to pick her up from the bus stop and take her from the bus stop, because it wasn't like a bus service that brought her to the house. right? But then in high school, I needed a flexible schedule that allowed me to come and go from my job as freely as I wanted to, because my daughter wanted to do dual enrollment at the local college, right? So I strategically mapped out a plan when she was like in elementary school. This is how early we start planning in my family. And I was like, when she hits 8th grade, I'm going to start looking for a job with schedule flexibility that will allow me to come and go, right? Well, let me back that up. She did dual enrollment 11th and 12th grade. So I started looking for that type of job in 10th grade, right? And then even with my business, it's in my career plan. I can pull out my old notebook from 2019. In 5 years, in like 2 or 3 years, my plan was I'm going to start my education consulting business, because when I get into the PhD candidacy phase, I don't want to be working. I want to be able to be working on my research and make money from my house, right? So it was all a part of a plan that I mapped out 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago. So career planning is another phase of the process. And again, all of this is completely different than what you've been taught over the years. That's why I always tell people, like, what I am here to do is to shake up everything that you thought you ever knew about getting a job, because it's more than that. It's really about creating a career that supports the life you want to live, right? So you have to get very clear on what are your non-negotiables? What do you need in a job? What do you not want to do for work, right? And it's more than just a remote job. And it's more than just, I want to make this salary, because if you could be making that salary and working a remote job and hate the job. And as a result of it, it will bleed into the other areas of your life. Ask me how I know, because there's hundreds of social workers that engage with me every day who you all think have the dream job, the goal social work job, and they hate it. They hate it because they did not take in consideration the totality of their full life and what they needed. And that could be intrinsically or extrinsically. We have a lot of introverts who are working jobs that's require them to be in constant extrovert mode, even though they're not extroverts. And as a result of that, they're burning out even faster because they are constantly on, right? 24/7. And that's not how they naturally operate. So it's very important when you are looking at your career that you look at your life first. And you look at what was the quality of life you want. I had the honor of talking with a social worker yesterday, and she was like, I have a simple life, and I just want a job that allows me to maintain my simple life. Because she was like, right now, the nonprofit that I'm working in is running me, that she was working in was running her into the ground. And she left that job and went and got a job at a local art museum. And I immediately said, oh, that's wonderful. I know you should be happy, because she also told me before that she loves the arts. She's a creative person. I was like, I know you're enjoying that art museum, and she is, right? But she still has desires to still use her social work background. That's her degree and all of the things. That's why she went to school. But I say that to say, you need to really get clear about what is the intention that you're trying to set for your life, and what job do you need to support that, right? For many people, they're like, I just like having the things that I need. I like to have the money I need. I don't want debt. I want a job that's not high stress. I don't want to be needed by a bunch of people. Those are some of the intentions. Maybe in your personal life, you want a job where, maybe regarding your personal life, you're like, I just want a job where people won't call me after hours. I want to be able to travel nationally and domestically and internationally. Maybe you're like, I want to be able to save money or travel throughout the work week, right? So then, because that's the type of life you want, you then need to go find a job that will allow you the freedom to do that, right? And so it's very important that you get clear on what you want your life to be inside and outside of work. So I wanted to come in and share those, 7 phases, seven phases to how to go from micro level work to macro level work. And as you'll see, it's not a one and done thing. It's not a very, that's why when people ask me that question, I'm like, it's a very complex process. But I'm like, I'm going to come on, I'm going to distill it down into phases. But I want to be clear that it's not steps. This is a process, right? It's not a checkbox. I've done this, check. I did this, check. These are things that you do over time, and you do it for the rest of your career. What I teach my coaching clients really truly is the fundamentals to career readiness and to learning how to navigate your career in any job market, learning how to navigate your career like when your wants and your desires change. I always tell people, like, when you are moving from certain age milestones, your body will change, your needs will change, your wants will change, your likes and your dislikes will change. And if you, once you know how to move and go get a new job to match what you want, you're winning across the board. The people that aren't, the people who are miserable in their job or not in the line space, are the people that don't know how to move. They only knew how to get that one job. So even though like they may have loved direct practice when they first started, and now they're hitting their 30s and they're realizing direct practice ain't for me, they're stuck. They got to stay in direct practice because they never learned the fundamentals to get clear on what is it that I really want to do and how do I get the job. So that's what I teach my coaching clients. I invite you to visit macroandpaid.com or visit the link in my bio here on Instagram and learn about the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. It really truly is a comprehensive group career coaching program. It's my program promise to teach you how to identify, apply, and interview for your dream macro social work job in 3 months or less. And I'm very clear, I'm not guaranteeing that you will have a job in 3 months because that's totally dependent upon you. However, what I am guaranteeing is that I will teach you everything there is for you to know and more in 3 months or less, right? And that is how my coaching clients start getting interviews from as early as 30 to 45 days of working with me. And people are getting job offers as soon as like 3 months. But it's because they also put in the work, right? They also put in the work, and they also addressed any unaddressed confidence issues. So Cohort 17 enrollment opens on January 12th. I'm so excited. We are really gearing up for that. I'm anticipating that it's going to be a great cohort, just like all of the cohorts. I'm currently working with Cohort 16. They have just wrapped up month 2 inside of the accelerator. They are now working on getting ready to start learning how to write their macro resumes. They've gotten clear on what type of macro job they want. They've gotten clear. They understand how to find the jobs they want. They understand how to find the aligned organizations. And so the next phase is learning how to write the resume, learning how to master those interviews, and start hitting apply on some jobs. Just me learning how to pivot from therapy to coaching. Okay, that's what you want to know? So because you mentioned that, right? Now I'm not clinical. I always give that disclaimer. However, I have started a business coaching program called Passion to Profit that I'm going to publicly release to the public in February of next year. Right now, I'm gearing up for the actual first session tomorrow for a beta group that I am having for the Passion to Profit coaching business coaching program. And I only offered it to my past Micro to Macro alum because they're already familiar with my framework and all of the things. So they have signed up for that. But I'm going to release it in February. So if you want to know about how to really ideate or create a business that really taps into your real interests, your real passions, your real mission for your life or as a whole, that program would be a good fit for you. And it's specifically designed for mission-driven entrepreneurs. I was telling my community when they were on the call about signing up for the new program that when I started my entrepreneurial journey 5 years ago, right before the pandemic, I was coming up against a lot of issues because I was only coming across what I call universal entrepreneurs, which are entrepreneurs that will just sell anything for $1, right? I'm not saying nothing wrong with that. However, that's not how I operate, right? I'm very mission driven. I'm very purpose driven. And so, because of that, I have hit a lot of humps and bumps in my entrepreneurial journey, realizing that there's a difference between a mission driven entrepreneur and a universal entrepreneur. And so over the last 5 years, I've really refined a system for myself through a lot of business coaching, refined a system for myself and like really pulled out what works for me, but also doing it from a way that creates ease in my life. I'm not trying to offend type A people, but I am not a type A person. I probably low key am a recovering type A person. I work really hard to get my blue on the colors assessment after years of being an orange. I think it's an orange or a yellow or something like that. I'm not that anymore, and I don't want that energy in my business. So over the last 5 years, I've really created a business that adds to me more than it takes away. And I'm talking about more than just revenue and income. I'm talking about fulfillment on a deeper level. I don't ever feel overworked. I don't ever feel in a high stress situation, right? And so I have designed a program that I've created to teach other mission driven professionals and social workers how to create a mission aligned business and do it in the most lean way possible. Right. And so I'm going to be releasing that out in February. But if you're interested to get on the wait list, you can DM me your email address and I'll add you so you can be in the emails to get more information about that. And the next time I have a masterclass to talk about like the steps to building a mission aligned business, and then even give you invites to join the full program. But I'm going to be releasing that in February, and it's going to be good because it's nothing of its kind. I looked high and low, right? I looked high and low because one thing you will quickly find when pivoting into becoming an entrepreneur is that even in careers and pivoting in your career, social workers, we talk our own language. We have our own approaches. We have our own and it's really foreign to people, right? That's why we're social workers. And so I'm really creating a one of its kind community for mission driven entrepreneurs, because it's a completely different approach that you need to take in order to build a sustainable revenue generating business, because I've been in my business for over 2 years full time, right? The fact that I've been in my business for over 5 years, that's unheard of. Most small businesses go out of business within the first year. I've been in business for over 5 years, and I've been full time in my business for 2 years. And so I'm ready to start helping other people get into like creating some revenue generated businesses. So if you're interested, send me your email address. But if you're interested in enrollment of Cohort 17, visit the link in the bio, visit Macro and Paid, join the wait list, learn more about the program. Enrollment for Cohort 17 opens on January 12th. Ain't nothing better for the new year to get yourself a new job, or at least start working on career clarity, to then when you're ready to get the new job, you know what to do, right? All right, so I'm going to let you go. I'm so excited that you all joined on a Friday evening. Have a wonderful evening. Happy macro career planning. Bye.